Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sideline.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of Tight Pants Society.
No fucking way is that a gimme, right?
Welcome into show 54 of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik. He's got a big grin on his face because winning. That's what we do on this show. We give you winners. I'm excited because to me, Jay, the AFC is down to 2 and the rent is due for everybody else. How you doing? Oh, you're muted, brother.
I was saying, Cody, thank you in the back. I'm finally reposting this properly from @TheRealGresh. You know, for some reason, when I try to go in live, doesn't always work, but great to see you. Yeah, you say it's down to 2 in the AFC.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. We're down to New England and Denver. Everybody else is either falling apart or they just don't have the goods. In fact, I don't want to do recency bias, but it feels like the LA Chargers might be a bigger thorn in the side for Denver or New England in a divisional round than maybe some of these other teams who are either losing their quarterbacks or losing their mojo.
Well, it's great to see you. I know we're going to get to a lot of NFL later. I do disagree. I think there are more teams up for it in the AFC. I'm fresh off a red eye, Andrew, from LAX. And, you know, what I want to tell you, right? So I went fat kid in the airport and just did myself a tremendous disservice in terms of my sleep on the red eye, right?
Okay.
So there's a place there. What I did. Hey, thanks, Cody.
Hey, look at this guy.
So this red eye, right? So I'm in the airport, right? And I come across a coffee bean and tea leaf. We don't have those in Florida. And when I lived out in LA, do you know what that is? Do you know that?
I'm aware, yes.
Oh, I love that you're aware. So we went with a caramel ice blended, which probably had some caffeine in it, but that was dinner last night with a couple protein bars just because I wanted to have that. I saw it there, was craving it, and it didn't help my slumber. But we're ready to go on Gas. You always give me a little juice. I like the low score sweatshirt more than the Carhartt you're wearing today, but we're good either way.
No, I got to tell you, that is for someone who flies as much as you do. I mean, you're taking 10 flights to Vegas every year, like probably on average, if not more, right? So It's not that you're not an experienced flyer, and I'm sure you've taken the red eye before. Well, what an egregious mistake on your part. I am surprised that you caved in that way.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving me the proper heat for it. I guess a lot of people, when they get older, they get like, oh, I can't have caffeine late or it keeps me up. I'm not like that. Like, I don't drink a lot of caffeine late in the day. I just figured it was more sugar and sugar puts you to sleep. Don't get that twisted, right? So I thought it was more sugar than coffee, but it didn't let me get that sleep I was looking for. Also, a little warm on that JetBlue aircraft. I like to be cool.
There is that. I'll tell you what, and I know that you were coming from LA and you weren't going from Vegas, but you know, I happened to throw some of these bad boys from a dispensary in Vegas in my bag on the way home. And let me tell you, these are 25 milligram ropes. And I mean, my goodness gracious. Now, by the way, I got into a little issue on Thanksgiving, right? Because when I said that when I'm cooking, I'll have like basically some of daddy's medicine in the back pocket, and you go, keep those away from Stella. So on Thanksgiving Day, what did I get? Hey, Uncle Arnie, what's in your back pocket? And I'm like, mother F. And all I hear is my brother go, yeah, you got to recognize what you're talking about. And I'm like, all right, relax, have some turkey and calm down. Everything. Well, I figured you would have gone like handful, nighty-night, wake up in Miami. Yeah.
And I did that one time recently, and gosh, it worked. So, but I will say, UFC 323, we were in Vegas, then we went to Newport Beach, California. John did the Jackson podcast with Bear and Bizping. That was fun. But dude, I love LA. I'm from LA. Being out in Southern California, nothing like it, man.
That's your place. Yeah, you can.
Right, I fit in there a little bit.
And how about Bisping's son got a win in his first MMA fight? I mean, you know, it's crazy to think about, right? So think about this. You always have like there was such a stigma around fighting and MMA and boxing and things like that, right? Like with Evander Holyfield and his 10 kids or whatever. Like one of them went to WWE, one of them was a great college football player, stuff like that. It's rare, I think, or it's an adjustment, I think, for some people or parents to be like, yeah, my 17-year-old just won his first MMA fight. It's not, oh, he made his first basket in varsity. He scored his first touchdown. He scored the game-winning goal. Right. No, my 17-year-old went in and beat the shit out of somebody else. Like that is something that is, you got to kind of wrap your head around, I think. Like even from the parenting end, that's got to be tough because like my mom was always worried I was going to hurt people. She was more worried about what I would do on a football field than it was worried about me, right? So I can't envision like my mother sitting cage side watching me actively try to goozle somebody.
Dude, that's amazing stuff. And so Callum Bisping, Michael Bisping's son, fought in an MMA fight over the weekend. And I don't know if I should tell this story on the air, but I'm going to. I don't know how many people tuned in to Gas today. But anyway, Bisping showed us a video on his phone of him watching. So it was pretty cool to see Michael giving him feedback. But I believe it was either the night before the fight, they were at dinner. And I think Callum's girlfriend said to Mike, like, oh, you going to the fight? And Mike was like, what you talking about? He had to like pretend he knew that there was a fight because Callum hadn't told Mike his dad he was fighting.
Stop it.
Not only had he not told Bisping that he was fighting, he wasn't even using the Bisping last name. I think his name is Callum Galen Bisping. He was using, I hope Mike might kill me for telling this story on air, but I don't think he will. But anyway, so he had originally put in Callum, Callum Galen, and Bisping was like, motherfucker, you call them, you fucking put that name.
Put your last name on it.
But dude, he is a fucking beast on the ground, but he's studying to get his master's degree. I don't know if this was even the fight. No. But anyway, but that was a crazy story from Mike, but his dad just didn't want sort of the shine. And you could be sure as soon as they introduced Callum, they're like, and now, the son of the UFC Hall of Famer, former middleweight champion. So you could understand why he went that route. I respected it, but Mike was pretty pissed.
I have never met Bisping, but my boys and I talk about, like, if there is a short list of people that you would want to go to dinner with in the MMA world, Bisping seems like one of those guys to us, like on our short list, because we know you, we know you and John. I mean, you guys would be there clearly, but like for my boys, they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to like hang out and talk to Bisping. He seems pretty cool.
Oh, I can't get enough of Michael Bisping. He's just a great human. And, one of the words, we were talking about some other people that maybe weren't cool, and he's like, I like you guys. You guys are cool. And I'm like, you're cool too, right? It's a good vibe always hanging with Bisping. And he has great energy. And I saw Chael Sonnen over the weekend as well. And Bisping and Chael both talk fast like me, right? And as I try to slow down in my broadcasting career, Gresh, I know I need to do it. However, when people fucking slow down, it pisses me off. And you got to keep my energy. So I went up to Chael and I said, Chael, as I'm in this broadcasting career, I'm talking to everybody and they're telling me to slow down. Yet my favorite broadcaster, you, who has all the juice, because Chael Sonnen, nobody has more juice than Chael. I was like, talks faster than me. And he just started laughing. And I said to Bisping, because Bisping works on slowing down as well. But it is a fine line sometimes because I like energy, whether I'm watching a podcast, broadcast, or otherwise.
I would say this, like for Bisping, it's a little different because of for some people, the lost in translation of the way the English talk, they leave off the H's and things like that. And then whenever you speak like this, you can go fast. You know what I mean? Right, you can extra level of lose people. But I think Bisping does a pretty good job of it. You're getting much better at it. It's much more natural to you than it is because I go through the same thing. Here's what it is. It's not talking as fast, but keeping your energy up. Like if your energy is tied into how fast you talk, then that's a little bit of the problem. But when you walk in the room, there's the presence, the energy, and things like that. And I thought on your last Dirty Boxing, you were awesome at that. It was great. Well, it really was.
You helped me a lot. So because we have a lot to get to today, and I like bullshitting with you more than anything. Yeah. But let's quickly just touch on UFC 323. If you had Jan and Van, you did well in the book. So I know you want to talk about some things. I know you had some action. But so I just quickly want to say, right? That line on Petr Yan at plus 330 cashes. Brendan Schaub thought he won the fight 5-0, destroyed Merab. So yeah, I mean, I guess what I'll tell you quickly, and then I'll let you roll. It was a unique experience for me because I flew out there during the fights. So I was actually able to watch the prelims on the plane and listen to the broadcast, which I enjoyed quite a bit because it was a great night of fights, and then got there for like the last 4 fights. So anyway, I know you're chomping at the bit. Where do you want to go with UFC?
Okay, so for me, my Saturday was a little different. All that stuff that you just talked about, I completely missed because I was doing my run of high school football state championship games at Gillette Stadium on Saturday.
Some exciting things happened there.
And, bro, there was one kid who threw for 350, and that never really happens in Massachusetts high school football, even in the state title games. So, yeah, so Saturday morning for me started at 10 a.m., and then I drove out of Gillette Stadium about probably 8:45, and I thought, I'm going to get home for the main card, which I was really excited about. And then just the 2 main events, my God. I mean, well, first of all, Moreno ends up losing his fight. But what happened to Alexandre Pantoja? I mean, you talk about I don't want to sound punny, but the ultimate bad break. All he does is put his hand down, and his elbow just explodes inside his body. And I know that we were all texting you. We had our gas text string was kind of hopping then, and we were talking about, could you see bone, and you could see the indention in the elbow. And then I thought it was one of the more real moments on a UFC broadcast where Pantoja is holding his arm, and his son, who is crying, comes up to him. And I thought, and tell John this, he did a brilliant job of laying out and then sort of explaining the emotion of that moment. Like, Pantoja's wife didn't seem to be weepy, but his son really was. And I thought the broadcast did a great job of stopping, catching that moment, and kind of explaining it, because like we were just talking about with Bisping and his son and stuff like that, in a lot of ways for me, I never think about the families of the MMA fighters unless they're a part of, unless it's like Aspinall's dad who's in his corner and stuff like that. And then I was shocked that Merab got beat up the way he did. Jan's jab got to him. The fact that Merab couldn't just bully him around. That was one thing that Merab was really good at. If he got his hands on you, he was bringing you down. And I thought Petr Yan's takedown defense was maybe better than it's ever been. Jay, what was it like when you got in the building for those fights? And I'm curious, what was it like when the Pantoja thing went down? Because it sounded like the crowd, it was more, I can't believe that really happened. But I don't know if everyone was really digesting in the moment just how bad that arm really was.
It's fascinating to see injuries, and even when Merab got kicked in the stomach and you heard him vocalize at once, you don't hear these guys react often. So Alexandre Pantoja was a bat out of hell for those 10, 15 seconds, however long it lasted, right? Not fearing Van for a second. Now, Van is a big, tough guy, good at defending takedowns, right? And held his own there, and certainly did gain the right to be in the octagon that night and earned the position he was in to throw him on the ground or whatever it was. What fascinated me about the injury was Pantoja didn't even flinch, right? He literally just held his arm and just waved it off almost. You see, right? You see a verbal, you can see, he didn't say tap, 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 right? He didn't tap anything. I love how that moment was handled, because oftentimes you see those moments not handled well. It's handled well all around. But in terms of the injury itself, to see a guy who's achieved as much as he has, and everyone's talking this week about, is Merab Dvalishvili the greatest mixed martial arts athlete of all time? And I know the flyweights at 125, a little bit of a different conversation. People may not always want to hear it, but Alexandre Pantoja is one of the all-time greats, certainly in this modern era. And we were at the gym in Jackson yesterday, behind the scenes doing this stuff. And Jason Perillo, Bisping's boxing coach, was talking about sort of, as he's watching sort of the evolution of this sport, right? Alexandre Pantoja, Mighty Mouse might be the greatest flyweight of all time with 15 title reigns. But as this sport evolves, both guys are better now, right? Everybody's getting better as time goes on. So it's fascinating to me. I think Pantoja's as good as it gets. So I was brokenhearted for him. But I think they'll run it back. And, when you see Jaden Daniels' elbow this season, for those NFL fans, right? It popped out. He came back in. They were talking a lot about this being a shoulder dislocation and almost as if the elbow got back in place at some point. So I'll be interested to see what is needed of this, because I'd love to see an immediate rematch.
Well, yeah, like do you need screws in there? What did
Right.
it do to kind of ligaments and tendons? It's a deeper sort of question as to whether that's like gonna pop out all the time. I gotta say, there's one thing that I'm struggling with when it comes to UFC analysis. So Mighty Mouse is the best ever. DC says Cejudo is the best ever when they're playing this thing. John Jones is the best ever. Volk is the best ever. How many best evers are there in MMA, for God's sakes?
Well, I couldn't agree more, and I hate greatest of all time conversations, right?
Yeah, me too.
But I don't mind Mount Rushmore conversations, right? A handful of guys, right? And so it's so right? I don't like the Michael Jordan, LeBron James conversation, and I actually changed my opinion as time went on that because someone threw a microphone in my face one time, So I couldn't agree with you more. I guess just when you start to stack up title defenses and winning streaks in the UFC, you enter these and people we're in a content business, but I'm with you. No thanks on the greatest of all time conversations.
Yeah, like I think Brandon Moreno's pretty damn good too. Like where do we kind of like draw the line on certain weight classes?
Pantoja beat him a few times, twice maybe.
Yeah.
Cody can. But we could talk all day about fighting. So in terms of the gambling side of it, got a feel for those that were on Pantoja, because when I talk about that 10 to 15 seconds, right, it did look like Pantoja was maybe going to have enough juice to get it done. I know Van is still live, but Pantoja looked like, he might be able to get that fight finished if he didn't get hurt.
No, I'm with you. And I was on the champions. You know how I felt about Merab going in. And even as you and I have talked about Merab this year, the couple times he's had title defenses. And, for some of these guys, and we've talked about this, Petr Yan was way better on takedown defense than I ever thought he would be. I thought there would be at least one or two times where Merab would be able to kind of drag him down. And this goes to, like, Yan was away for a while. What have you worked on and how are you better? We talked about this with Islam, right? With Islam, it was, how did he put on the weight? And when he did it the right way. And he looked like Islam, even though he moved up. And I think that, that's where you start to get into the real nuance of the fight game. And I'm learning more and more every day on stuff like that.
Well, and let me just piggyback that, and then we can transition, right? So John said at 3 straight fighter meetings since Yan lost to Merab in 2023, 3 straight fighter meetings, all he's talking about is Merab and how he gets back to being able to beat Merab. And to your point, that jives so much with your point. He did his camp in UAE, away from his family. Do you know what I mean? Completely married to this, whereas Merab's just turning around, turn and burn and burn and burn and burn. Mm-hmm. So you and I could talk fighting all day long. It's a New England sports show. I think we should probably turn to the topics.
Yeah, I know that I know the chaos this week in college football probably got lost on a lot of folks in Boston. I'd say if you just dig into it, the Power Four porked the Power Four, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. There's no weeping for Notre Dame, but are we under a little Boston Renaissance here, right? So there would always be the jokes, John, of the Red Sox are the kings of interest. Now they're the king of Zoom meetings. Apparently, they've Zoom met with everybody who could be a free agent out there. And I know that the day that I was working in Boston radio when Kyle Schwarber left, my buddy Rich Keefe was like, don't let that guy walk out the door. That's a guy. So he's not perfect at first base or whatever, but you got the DH. Let him just drive the ball out of the ballpark. And now, a couple years later, after some World Series glory, and of course going to the Phillies and having more, Schwarber gets 5 for 150, and Red Sox fans were disappointed that they weren't in the mix. I'm not, only because the Red Sox told me what they thought of the player. They could have given him $25 million 3 years ago, right? Yep. So for me, it wasn't that big a deal, but they trade for Sonny Gray. they're trying to just quickly, the Celtics did not get off to a great start. Celtics have now turned it around a little bit. Crazy Joe Mazzulla taking advantage of what lineups he can put together and, not playing the best of competition to sort of boost that record. And then you got the Bruins, who got Morgan Geeky, of all fucking people, Morgan Geeky, right? For Bruins fans who watched that guy last year, he is the second leading scorer in the National Hockey League right now. You would have predicted that I would have been able to fit my fat ass easily in a Porsche. You would have bet on that I would have been able to fit into a Porsche more seamlessly than Morgan Geeky. And of course, we then have the Patriots to throw a top on that. I know that you're very much a football guy. Do you have any lingering thoughts, even just on the Celtics? Because I know you met Mazzulla and came away thoroughly impressed with the guy.
Yeah, and it really is interesting because you see us go down the MMA rabbit hole, right? And I was sitting here thinking to myself, gosh, if Gresh and I were just to be sitting around talking, it'd probably be a lot of NFL and MMA. I can't believe how much MMA we just did, and I kind of love it. And I hope the folks at home don't hate it either. But, in terms of the Red Sox, I'll just say quickly, because I got more Celtics, as you know. Yeah. I'd love to see Bo Bichette walk through that door, right? I didn't mind when his dad, Dante, had a little stint in Boston. But, if you're asking me if Bo Bichette or Bregman, I mean, as much as I'm a Bregman guy, I would love to see Bo Bichette. Apparently he was impressed with the squad. So, I mean, would you like Bo Bichette walking through those doors?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think they need a lot. I think you can find you can find a first baseman if you need to. And where the hell is Tristan Casas in all this? And
when you talk
no
about
one's asking that question.
I figured when you were talking Schwarber, you were really hopeful for Schwarber because I know that you just want Casas out of the clubhouse. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think he's mad overrated. If he turns into a 40 home run hitter, it's going to be years down the road, and we'll have been frustrated as hell watching this guy sunning himself half naked, before games out in center field at Fenway Park. The Celtics are exciting me, Jay.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about the green.
Yeah, please. Okay? Yeah. Where are you at on the green?
So they've won 10 of 12, right? The insertion of Jordan Walsh in the starting lineup has been key, right? He's shooting 46% from three, getting on the glass. He's great on defense, only 21 years old, right? And it's so interesting when you're part of a great organization and team because you just sit on the bench, sit at the end of the bench with your bald head. To 38th overall pick out of Arkansas in the 2023 NBA draft. And it's just amazing because you see a lot of other teams around the league have these dudes pop up in their young 20s or in their second or third year. You're like, who's that dude? And the Celtics oftentimes, when they're contending, don't have opportunities for those guys. And it's a great opportunity to make the team deeper. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's where the G League has actually helped, right? I mean, they drafted Walsh and then gave him 3 hots and a cot in Portland and told him, start grinding, kid. And that's exactly what he did. And to me, Jay, this is how you're supposed to use that league, right? You maybe overdraft somebody that's got a lot of talent, but you stash them there, let them grow for 2 years, then reintegrate them back into the big club. And now maybe you got something. And to me, this is Brad Stevens all the way. This was Stevens a couple years ago saying, this kid could turn into something, and they sent him to Portland, and he learned, and he did great, and now he's playing like a freaking, now he looks like he blends right into the roster, Jay.
When the Celtics have been great, they've just been outstanding on both ends. So the Celtics offensive efficiency rating, points per 100 possessions, right? Elite, hovering around 120 to 122 this season, often ranking among the top 1 to 3 teams just behind like the Nuggets and the Knicks. That's good stuff, And Jaylen Brown, right? Can't say enough about Jaylen Brown, averaging 29 points a game. You knew that would bump up. But for me, 79% from the line. I know it's a small sample size, but the free throw shooting for Jaylen Brown, great. I'd love to see that get over 80% because it's always been a little bit of a fly in the ointment with him. And he's been much more efficient from 3 lately, really, as they all have. They were really kind of cold early, so it's helpful to get hot, but it really is just unbelievable. And in terms of sort of the Western Conference, we talk a lot about this, the strength of the NFC over the AFC, right? I'm not going to worry about how good the Western Conference is or OKC or the Nuggets, right? Let the Celtics be in the mix. Let's see where Tatum's at, but they are absolutely in the mix, and Tatum has to be thrilled.
Yeah, I agree. Like if you're Tatum, Jay, and you're working your way back and you're seeing that now this team is 15-9, there's got to be, at least in the back of his mind, a little bit of FOMO, you know, the whole, I don't want to miss out on this, and how much could I help this team? So you and I talked about it at the beginning of the year. Brad Stevens did not punt on the season. If anything, I think he built about a 45-win team. So even the way they are right now, they can win. So that's you're a couple games over 500. Then you throw Jason Tatum into this, maybe come playoff time. Now you can at least shake it up a little bit, and you become dangerous in the conference. And even if they come up short, you've taken different kinds of steps towards building the next version of the Celtics. And I'm with you. Yeah. I'm excited. I also think they've got the right guy for the job when it comes to Missoula. He's not gonna press on the accelerator and go too fast. He's going to go at the right pace. He's going to keep pushing these guys. But ultimately, it's somebody who is a thinker. And this is a year where a thinker head coach could really help the Celtics when you don't have one of the best players in the world.
And Missoula is just, he's well beyond his years in terms of certain things. And a lot of it is based in religion, but a lot of it's philosophical. And I'm sure the idea of this team getting to 15-9 after a bit of a clunky start didn't seem very realistic to me, but I bet it kind of did to Joe Missoula. And I bet he had the necessary patience to get this team playing the way they need to. It really will be fascinating to inject Jason Tatum into any team. And I think it's a great advantage for him to be able to watch some of the things maybe they're doing and see maybe some opportunities where this league inevitably can become one-on-one step back threes here and there. So I think it's a good opportunity for him to take a step back, almost like a backup quarterback a little bit, and see what's going on out there.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing too. Joe Missoula doesn't come across as a 37-year-old. He really doesn't. To your point, there's a different level of thought and maturity and kind of patience with him, I think, you know. He's just the perfect guy for the job right now. And I'll tell you this, if Morgan Geekie finishes in the top 3 of goals in the NHL, like I don't know what I was going to say, eat my shoe, but the guy might actually do it. So I don't want to say that, but I mean, the guy is on an unbelievable scoring heater. And, you know, the Bruins are 18-13. They were supposed to, I mean, a lot of people just thought they're going to be dog shit this year with a really good player and a new coach in Marco Sturm. You know, this is why it's good the Bruins are 18-13. We can sit here and say, oh, yeah, it's great. They're doing all this and that. This is also the reason why they are the way they are and why there isn't the high-level spend or chasing people in free agency, because they find a way to reinvent kind of that blood and guts wheel of the way of playing hockey, and they've done it here. So, you know, maybe they'll get a small piece or something like that, but if the Bruins are still filling the building, they're above 500 and people aren't complaining, they're going to be very unmotivated to sort of do anything. Like the heat has been turned up on the Red Sox here this offseason on ownership, and I think they're very well aware over there on Yawkey Way the way people kind of feel about them right now. The Bruins are the same. They're just, you know, low rent about it. They just, oh, we don't have to spend. No one's upset. Well, we won't spend then, you know?
And certainly they are the fourth wheel in this town, in which was a hockey town 70 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, they have a stud, and people love Pasternak, but it's not the connection that you had to Bergie and Marshy, right? Yeah. Yep. Like it was like Bergeron really represented Boston. You know, when you heard that he played with like a punctured lung and shit like that. Hockey hardo, they're rubbing peanut butter all over their tits over it.
Yeah, and well, you know, when you win the Stanley Cup in 11 and get back there in 13 to the final, you really sort of cement. It was quite an era, you know, and it's really difficult to hoist Lord Stanley. So,
brother, when we go back and when there's a documentary done of like 2000 of even just the first 2 decades of the 2000s of Boston sports, my God, the stuff we've seen, it's crazy.
Well, and any other town or city that wants to call themselves Title Town,
get out of here.
Go ahead at your own. We're worried about the next one.
Yeah.
Still, like, anyway.
And we stacked them in 4 sports. Like, okay, Green Bay can call themselves Title Town, but what else is there? What do you get? You get horny for the, you know, Washoba Miners of the AA baseball or something like that? Like, seriously.
I'm with you. New England Patriots.
Bro, let me just jump in right now. So New England on the bye. They're playing Buffalo. Patriots are getting 1.5. Okay, now I think they win this game, right? However, the line has me freaked out, a little spooked, because it just doesn't look right. New England's played great, big winning streak. Buffalo's defense stinks. I mean, that was that performance against Cincinnati. Ugh. But yet New England is getting the points. This feels like honestly, I wanted to go New England plus because I thought it was a bargain, Jay, and I talked myself out of it on the picks because I'm like, wait a minute, something's up here. This line doesn't look right to me.
So what scares me always is Josh Allen. Your points are very well taken. So Patriots coming in off a bye. Mike Vrabel was 6-0 off a bye with the Titans. No surprise there. And Patriots are getting healthier. I guess Jared Wilson, Tonga, both practicing, right? But Milton Williams and Will Campbell are not playing. And so to me, maybe that's why the line is where it is. But also, too, I mean, Josh Allen is still Josh Allen, right? And he really is the best player in the National Football League. He is, with respect to Matthew Stafford winning the MVP or whatever it is. So that line, though, Gresh, I have to say, I saw it at 1, and then I saw it move. And to me, I think I saw it at 0.5 point, unless I'm mistaken. And then I saw it move. But yeah, when I see New England plus 1.5, that makes me look at it funny too, if I'm being honest. Yeah. And made me want to go New England. It's hard. I believe that my bias enters in when I try to handicap this game, Gresh, because I'm like, are the Patriots really going to just beat the Bills now and then go beat the Ravens on Sunday night? Game move flex to Sunday night. Like, really? So I don't think they win both of these games, Gresh. I think one, and I think they very easily could lose 2 of them. So, before the Giants game, Tom Curran said it wouldn't surprise him if they lost 3 straight. Yeah, they took care of the Giants, but I tough one, Gresh.
Yeah, I think I think for me, I'm not as worried about the Bills as I am Baltimore. Baltimore on the road, Sunday night, Lamar can make some crazy things happen. So can Allen. However, I think New England has a much better handle on dealing with the kind of runs Josh Allen, there's not as much design stuff. Like with Lamar, you're worried about, somebody is the extra blocker and it's Lamar against the defensive back in the open field. It's not where it feels more design runs. Whereas if you make the mistake and you allow Allen to wiggle out of the pocket like the way the Bengals did late in the game, I mean, that's an absolute killer. Like, I did my keys to the game for TV this week, and my very first one was stay in front of Allen.
Yep.
Jay, I don't need the biggest pass rush this week. What I need is a pocket that's going to force Josh Allen to stand there, and then when nothing's open, he can't get out. And then you're going to swallow him up, or he's going to make a bad throw or something like that. I mean, Cincinnati was abysmal in that game of keeping people in front of Allen, and he really made them pay. I think if you take that away, you take away his ability to be a magician.
I like that. That's good stuff. And Lamar Jackson was always the guy that I feared as a Patriots fan, because he's been doing it for a while. He was around when Brady was around as a Patriot. Lamar Jackson's been around. And I do think as we look to that Baltimore game quickly, again, that game scares me too. Baltimore very well could be, need that game to not be eliminated from postseason contention. There are a lot of factors in this wide open AFC, but, gosh, I will say from a bye week standpoint, I missed the Patriots this week. And it's been a long time.
Did you
I remember
really?
Last year I was looking forward to the bye. I was out in Vegas on Sunday to watch the NFL, and I was really wanted me some Drake May. So speaking of that, you want to talk about what's this, Drake and Bake?
Yeah. Have you seen the people up here didn't understand how come a Southern lady would use her middle name whenever identifying herself? So whenever she was like, my name is Ann Michael May, people were like, what? And they're, half of the Yahoos up here were like, I thought it was Michelle. It's like, Jesus God, people. No, but apparently Drake May's wife is baking all the treats and gone on social media. I don't know if it turns into Drake and Bake or something like that, but I know that Mike Vrabel said on after seeing some numbers that are going to come out soon, one lightly listened to Boston radio station, Mike Vrabel said, Yeah, he's like, she makes stuff and they bring it in for the lineman. And he mentioned something about an apple, maybe like cobbler or something like that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's dangerous. So Drake May's wife is fattening up all these linemen at the end of the year with the baked goods.
So Cody came up with Drake and Bake. That's amazing, Cody.
That's pretty good.
You get that to the proper person there, Cody. But, as we shift in and look at sort of the NFL as a whole and peek at the bracket, you really think it's a 2-horse race in the AFC, Gresh?
Yeah, I do. And let me walk through this. Hang on. I'm going to the
walk
standings.
Us through
here.
it.
All right, so here we go. Houston's the 7 seed right now. They're playing them
this morning to win the conference. Go ahead.
I
you
don't
love Houston Texans. Go ahead.
No, I do. But here's the thing. Like, even I stayed away from the Texans this week. I'll tell you why. They can't score. As an underdog, I think I love the Texans. As a favorite, they have to then turn around and go score. That kind of worries me a little bit. Houston is the defense to go deep. They do not have the complete football team to go deep. Buffalo, they're 9-4, but come on, their defense, how many times does Josh Allen have to score over 35 points for them to be able to win? I think the Bills are very invincible this year. They're not the Uber team that they were last year. They're just not as good defensively. The team that maybe I shouldn't completely write off are the Chargers. A little bit of health. Now, when I watched them against Philadelphia, first of all, that Philadelphia game, God damn it. And that was my bronze medal pick. Like, I'm not upset at myself for my thoughts on the handicap because they really should have won the game, but they found a way to lose fabulously. The Chargers might be the one team that's a little plucky. And I'll tell you, the other part of it is their head coach is crazy. And
nuts.
like Sean McDermott is not crazy. D'Amico Ryan's not crazy. That crazy bastard out in LA might lead his team an extra round because of the way that Harbaugh is wired. Pittsburgh's leading a division, Jay, but all they're talking about in Pittsburgh, I just did an interview down there with one of my Yinzer buddies. All they're asking about is, when did you know it was over with Belichick? Because we think it might be over with Tomlin. And there's more talk about Mike Tomlin than there is the football team. Jacksonville, I love my guy Liam Cohen, but they're a divisional round out. That's about what they are. And I think offensively, they would have to have an explosion to make an AFC championship game. Look at what Denver's doing. I know they're beating bad teams, but they're winning close games. And Jay, after a little investigating, they're doing it in different ways. Right? They might get a stop on defense or a score on offense or a big return on special teams or somebody hitting a kick, somebody blocking a kick. Denver is having one of those years where against everyone but the Patriots, maybe everything that can go right for them late in games will go right. But when they go against a team who is not going to give up one of the 3 phases to allow Denver to win, that's why I think New England is over them as we sit here right now. Now, stuff could get messed up with injuries and things like that. Indianapolis, we know who they are. Come on, they're calling a freaking 45-year-old to come in and play quarterback. Baltimore might be able to steal from Pittsburgh. Okay, fine. And Kansas City's done. They are Dunsky. At 6-7 with no ability to run the ball, KC ain't making the playoffs.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I think the betting odds would support that as well. I guess for me, I think the AFC, it's as wide open as it's ever been in terms of the betting odds to win the conference. And I also feel that the any given Sunday component, right? I think if Denver's the 1 seed, I think gives them a great chance to make it to the Super Bowl with that defense.
Agreed.
But I think that if they are not the 1 seed and they're playing all, I think they could be ripe because their offense, right? Is Denver's offense scary as much as Houston's? Let's say 3-4 weeks from now, Houston's been really banged up. I agree with what you said about the Houston Texans offense, but I also think they could find their mojo. Woody Mark's a good young back. I got some weapons out there. Nico Collins is maybe the best receiver in the NFL a year or 2 ago. So I think there's some potential there, but I just believe, and there you see it sort of wide open. But Gresh, if you're asking me today to pick my AFC champion,
Look at the Bills hanging in there from a betting standpoint.
Absolutely.
Bro.
I mean, it's like if you're asking me my AFC champion, it's probably the winner of Bills Patriots this weekend.
Well,
You
let
know,
me
because
ask you.
the Bills are going to show me something if they win this game, and it's not going to surprise me if they do.
Well, Jay, I think the Bills are probably, and Code, if you can scroll down again there, I think that 390 group, I feel like the Bills are there because of handle, pre-season betting. I'm sure there's a lot of handle. Like,
no,
do they want to?
I don't think that would have anything to do with this current line. At certain books, you might see a little lean based on significant action, but I don't think so. I mean, Gresh, your point's very well taken in terms of liking the Patriots or the Broncos, but those two teams, the home road stuff, if the Bills are going on the road to face Denver, I agree with what you said. As of today, I love the Denver defense. I don't like the Buffalo defense, but I also think things could look different in a few weeks. The reason I bet on the Texans to win the conference is because I think their offense is going to look different in a few weeks than it does right now.
Interesting. I don't believe in Nick Caley, the coordinator. He almost came here last year, which would have been an even bigger disaster with Mayo. So here's the advantage for New England. Denver's last month is not easy. Green Bay, Jacksonville, then short week. So they play Jacksonville 21st, short week playing on Christmas against KC. Mm-hmm. Then it's January 4th against the Chargers, where Denver might have, another bye or maybe very little to play for at that point, where we know that the Patriots have the Bills, the Ravens, they have the Jets, which should be a win. And I'm sorry, the Dolphins are playing a better brand of football, but they're not. We think the Miami Dolphins are going to come to the cold of New England. Are you kidding me? So when you look into it, so Miami is coming to New England, and there's one thing we can guarantee about Miami. They lose to the thermometer every year, and it's going to be colder than a witch's tit on January 4th up here. So I expect Miami to melt. Last game of the year, those bunch of vagines are going to come up here and play in the cold against a team who might have something on the line. Get the hell out of here. And Big Milt might be back, or Big Bill might be back as well. The Patriots have a great advantage because of the opponents. Now, they still got to go out and handle business. Like, you can't, if you're in New England, the expectation is you're getting to at least 13 wins by beating the Jets and the Dolphins. And then where does it kind of fall from there?
I agree with that, and I think with the trying to look at the Patriots objectively as a fan, when literally they went from being the worst team in football last year to maybe the best right now. A lot of people got them number one in their power rankings. Yeah. It's hilarious, maybe me included. So it's almost, this adjustment of me saying early in the season they're a year away, then saying, no, they're a contender. But when I say contender, I mean playoff contender. I don't mean Super Bowl contender. And now 100% have I peaked at where the Super Bowl is, and maybe, how could my schedule potentially align? I'm being in Vegas that week, right? So I think, you know what I mean? So the fact that I'm even creeping there and then I get superstitious, I'm like, I don't want to start thinking like that. But I do believe stranger things have happened, and they're in a great position to make a run.
Now, I know that the Daniel Jones injury kind of helps, but I said about a month ago when Indy was on the bye, look out, they might run the table and lose them all.
Yep.
They've lost 3 in a row. They've called Phillip Rivers, who in reading up on Rivers, they signed him into the practice squad. I think is what they did. So they'll put him on the practice squad and then maybe elevate him. So Phil Rivers, this is crazy. 10 children, 10 kids. His oldest is the same age as Riley Leonard, who is the backup quarterback already in Indianapolis. It's crazy. So this guy, 5 years, he hasn't played, right? Now he'll get another year of pension, which is really good, especially for a guy who was in the league as long as him. But Indianapolis is going to try to beat Seattle, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Houston with essentially the new version of Vinny Testaverde.
Well, it's almost as if they would be bringing him off the street. I'm surprised it's worth his while, right? He was a Hall of Fame semifinalist. That clock resets if they sign him off the practice squad. I don't know if he's off the practice squad. If they sign him, that resets. But I don't know what the upside is for Phillip Rivers. But they are so desperate at quarterback that it doesn't shock me that much. I'm just surprised that there's the interest from Phillip Rivers, I guess. But they're cooked. That was your first note of last week. It had been a theme, as you said. But last week, they were sort of officially done. I've been fading them in the sports book. Gosh, for a fan base that saw, Halliburton go out with an Achilles in Game 7 in the NBA Finals after making that run, and then to be sort of the class of the NFL for the first 8-10 weeks. It's unbelievable.
No, it really is. And I really love Seattle over Indy this week, but I don't love them at minus 12.5. That's that number. There's a couple of really big numbers this week that are reflective of the teams that are truly starting to peak. And look at those NFC numbers. The Rams leading the way. And then after that, you could argue Seattle is playing the next best football given what we just saw from Philadelphia on Monday night.
I agree. And the Green Bay Packers have been inconsistent in game and in season, right? Bears did whatever they wanted in the second half against Micah Parsons and company. So I think it'll be interesting to see. But I do think the reason that I played the Texans, and we'll get into our picks here, the reason I played the Texans is because I liked the value sitting here, because I would love to have that defense going in on the road. And I really do believe the Rams are the class of the NFL, despite Seattle maybe being on their heels. And maybe they should have beat them, Seattle, in that game. But I believe the Rams are going. So I've done a lot of action where I sort of have the Rams over other teams in the Super Bowl, taking some flyers on some of that. So
I'm with you. If you told me right now that I had to narrow it down in both conferences and pick a championship game, it's Denver at New England and it's Seattle at LA, the LA Rams. I mean,
makes sense.
Yeah, I think those Seattle, and I didn't really love them at the beginning of the year. And it's not like Darnold has played as good as he did last year, but he's on a more complete football team, I think. And that guy, Mike McDonald's done a really nice job. So can I hit you with something? And I know that I know this isn't your cup of tea, but I'm gonna hit you
with Bruins again.
No, I'm gonna hit you with something. It's an NFL question, but it's really, really tough. Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohen, Mike McDonald, and I guess I'd throw McVay in there. Of those four, who's coach of the year?
Vrabel, McVay, Cohen, and who was the fourth?
It was Mike McDonald.
It's definitely Mike Vrabel going away, and I don't know what the betting odds are, but
I think he's still a big fave.
Makes sense, but wasn't all year. That market settled down right now, and I think Sean Payton should deserve some contention. You
know what I was going to say? Well, that's almost like the Bill Belichick sort of the coaching deal, right? Like Bill every year, they won like 12 games every year.
McVay 40-1.
Wow. Okay. So they have Ben John. Oh, I forgot about Chicago, and he's a new coach, so people would go nuts for him.
But it really is going to be interesting. If Denver gets that 1 seed, you think McVay in consideration?
No. If Denver gets the 1, I don't.
Peyton. Sorry, I keep saying
it's okay. I don't think Peyton. No, Peyton is the Bill Belichick of this group.
Okay, I got you.
And McVay will probably be. But it's normally going to a guy whose first year, or like Mike McDonald, they're in their second year and they've kind of blown doors. I'll tell you what, if Jacksonville wins the division, I still think there's a chance that Liam could steal the thing from Vrabel. And again, both would win the divisions, both with big turnarounds. I think for some voters, Jay, I wonder if people will look at Jacksonville as a bigger turnaround than New England, because with New England, you still had some of the, like the scraps left over of the culture that Belichick created. No one's been able to go to Jacksonville and really develop culture. And it looks like Liam might be on the way to at least maybe doing some of that. So I just wonder if in the mind of the voter, it's, well, he went to Jacksonville and they never get anything right. So let's give it to this guy who went and won 11 games this year.
It's good stuff. And, Mike Vrabel is sitting there favored at minus 250. His football team is going to be the underdog in the next 2 games. So if they don't emerge victorious, then I think maybe
he probably sinks a little bit. No, that's fair. But you're right. Like a guy like a guy like Peyton in Denver should get more run. I think for, sadly for a lot of the voters, I mean, it's who was the first year guy that went in and did a really good job.
Well,
Hey,
and
listen,
Peyton, he was probably closer last year to winning the thing,
no doubt. And hey, let me give you another one too. I know we talked on Phil Rivers real quick, but say Phil Rivers gets activated from the practice squad and plays great. Could Phillip Rivers completely overturn the comeback player of the year market? Because if now again, you and I think they're gonna shit their pants, but say Phil Rivers comes in and Indy goes 3-1 and they end up with 11 wins and they make the playoffs and he saved the day. People look at this, half rigor mortis riddled quarterback out there. I wonder if the comeback player of the year market could be shaken up by Phil Rivers.
I think the betting odds have already reflected that, and anyone taking that flyer better off buying someone a nice holiday gift.
Oh, buy a $960 million Powerball ticket, right?
Third best odds. I mean,
that's taking advantage.
Aiden Hutchinson deserves more love, if you ask me, than 50-1. But that's just
100%. But why? But defensive players get no attention.
Yep. All right, let's get to the podium picks. We have been seeing the board pretty well. So we give you our 3 best bets in the NFL against the spread every week: gold, silver, and bronze. Gold medal picks worth 3 points, silver worth 2, bronze worth 1. So we began this thing week 7. Wish we had began it all season. So through week 14, Gresh continues on fire. Gresh is at 16-8. I am 11-11-2. Gresh with 35 points. I have 22 points. So last week, Gresh, combined, we hit 4 out of 6. We each go 2-1. We each lost the game we lost by a hook. Of course, you lost your bronze. I lost my silver. So you pick up another point. But I will say, Gresh, the game I lost, and you could talk Philly if you want, but the game I lost, the Bears plus 6.5 at the Packers, the only game I lost, I'm convicted that I was on the right side of that football game, regardless of how it losing by a touchdown. The Bears made all the adjustments at halftime. I had a wager out in Vegas on the Packers money line tied to some other things. I felt very fortunate to get that home the way the Bears were playing. So I don't mind losing when I feel like I'm on the right side. That was a back and forth game. I didn't love the 6.5. Didn't have the opportunity to buy a point at fucking Red Rock. But other than that, decent week.
I kind of feel the same way about Philly. Like with Philly, I feel like they did everything they could to lose that game against the Chargers. And I thought this would be one of those spots. Like when it went to overtime, I was like, okay, they kicked the field goal. Now Philly's going to go down, score a touchdown, and they're going to cover this thing and win the game. And then Jalen Hurts, Jesus God, 4 picks, like out of nowhere.
Well, you know what? But like, I agree out of nowhere mostly, but like the week before, it's like he's missing guys all day. So it's like inevitably something. I know there's some tips and different things, but it's inevitable sometimes. Gosh, when you win a Super Bowl, so much criticism about the player dissipates. And I think there's some real criticism about that quarterback that a lot of people are vocal about, sort of even last year a lot leading into this year, but it sort of quiets when you have that nice shiny ring.
Yeah, I think with Hurts, he's a good running mobile quarterback. Get him out on the run, things of that nature. Let him run some sprint option stuff and throw the ball or throw it deep. Like that's to me, really, that's his game. Now the problem is he likes to throw it deep and will throw it into coverage as we know. And maybe I'm wrong on the whole. Philly can create their own drama, but then find a way to fight through it. But let's get to week 15. We got a lot to peel through here. I will start my bronze pick. Broncos plus 2.5 against Green Bay. I like the Broncos. They win close games. And Jay, to your point, like Green Bay won last week, but it was not the most overwhelmingly impressive performance. I still don't think Green Bay knows exactly who they are. But if there's one thing I do know is that the quarterback will throw it up into coverage with a big pass rush. I think the Broncos get after Green Bay and cover that 2.5.
I like that side quite a bit. I just think that's a tough place to play. And I think, Jordan Love showed me a lot the way he performed Thanksgiving going into Detroit doing that. He'll show, I tell you what, Green Bay becomes a live NFC contender if they go into Denver and take care of the Broncos. I just don't see it happening. I'm with you. My bronze medal selection, I'm on the Chargers plus 4.5 at the Chiefs. And this is I'm fading the Chiefs. I don't know how I could play the Chiefs here. They've lost 5 straight against the spread. I'm just dealing with sort of the facts here, right? Mahomes last week, 14-33, 3 picks. A lot of that wasn't his fault. Travis Kelce with that tough drop late. He's looked distracted for a couple years for me at times, with respect. But they're just not doing the little things to win games. I'm not even sure they win this game, let alone cover. It jumped out at me at +4.5. I went and looked at Herbert's health. Justin Herbert is a tough motherfucker. We talk MMA, like he got a smashed hand. It keeps getting smashed, and he just keep playing. Led the team in rushing last week, 10 for 66. So anyway, short week for the Chargers. That factored in, almost made me get away from it. That's the reason it's my third best selection. But also what factored in is a big win Monday night over Philadelphia. They had some trouble finding pay dirt, a lot of field goals. I think Dicker hit 5 of them, but didn't have trouble hitting pay dirt in week 1 when they beat the Chiefs, those Chargers. Herbert, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns that day. And last week, even though it was a clunky game a little bit for the Chargers, they possessed the ball for 38 of a possible 60 minutes. I think this line should be 3 or 3.5, so I'll happily take the 4.5. But the Chiefs always scare me, especially truly backs up against the wall, so that's why it's my bronze medal pick.
Yeah, I honestly, bro, this was the fourth game that if I didn't go with the Broncos, I would have gone with this. I like the spot for the Chargers. Yeah, I like the spot with the Chargers. I think Green Bay is licking their wounds a little bit. And if you're the Chargers, you smell blood, right? You know, you went and got another win. Now it's time for you to really stick the dagger into your biggest rival. Just drive it right through their heart. Little theme here for me coming off the bye, even though I don't love this team and I've crapped all over them. New Orleans burned me last week in a teaser with Tampa. I don't know how Tampa lost to New Orleans, but coming off the bye, I'm going to go with the Panthers -2.5 against the Saints. I know divisional rivals normally play close, but it's, again, -2.5. So it's sort of my Philly part of the reason I loved Philly -2.5. Go get me a 3-point win. I'm covered. Kind of the same thing here. I don't love the Panthers, but I hate the Saints, and the Saints won last week, so they're due to slide back. Panthers coming off a bye. I'll lay the 2.5 and go with a team that I don't love, but I think their opponent is just absolute crap.
I love that side, and the Panthers have started to play better on the road. Bryce Young had some terrible splits, and then he won a few in a row, and I like the job Canales is doing there. I think they got a ton to play for. I think the bye benefits them, and Tampa Bay gave that game away in a lot of different ways. They had a lot of opportunities to still win despite Baker having a bad day, against New Orleans. So I just think that New Orleans team, I think, would be a huge overreaction to like the Saints this week. I like the line quite a bit. I love that side, and when I saw it pop up in your plays, I was regretting not having it in mine.
Interesting.
Excuse me.
No, you're way good. Silver medal, brother.
So I'm coming back with the Bears, and I don't love the number, just as I didn't love it last week. Last week I played them +6.5, which is a number I don't like to play, and now I'm playing them -7.5, which is a number I don't like to play.
But you love that opponent, though.
I do, right? And so Bears 3-1 against the spread as a favorite. And that game last week, despite losing at Green Bay, right? They still lost despite that second half, right? So the second half drives last week at Green Bay for the Bears. These are all their drives. 10 plays, 64 yards, touchdown, 5 minutes, 36 seconds. Then 7 plays, 37 yards, field goal. 17 plays, 83 yards, touchdown, 8 minutes, 32 seconds. And then they drive 6 plays, 60 yards, get close to pay dirt, and then there's an interception Caleb Williams throws. But they completely outplayed Green Bay in the second half, all those adjustments. And they also play Green Bay again at home next week. You can't play with your food, fuck around here. And Myles Garrett scares me, but I think Ben Johnson will sort of, in the same way you talk about the Patriots being able to neutralize Josh Allen, I think Ben Johnson will be able to neutralize Myles Garrett and be sort of aware. And I also think Shador with a big game, maybe drink a little bit of Kool-Aid. They did lose to the Titans last week, unless I'm mistaken, at home. So the idea that they flip it and go to Soldier Field and win, I just don't see it. So I'm going to just hope the Bears cover the 7.5 here.
Yeah, here's a nugget. When is the last time the Bears have been in this spot? So the Bears have not closed as at least a 7-point favorite since week 16 of 2020. It's been a long time since they've been in this spot. But the Browns are 1-10 ATS in their last 11 road games. So you could feel pretty good about that.
Shador could have a rough game. He had some amazing throws, but he could take a step back, and I think that game could get out of hand.
And I also think too that if you're a defensive coordinator with a little bit of talent in terms of coverage, that you can do some things on the back end to get some turnovers out of Shador Sanders.
Yep.
All right, for me to the gold medal selection, I am going back to a team on the bye. Give me San Francisco minus a massive number against Tennessee. Now, the 49ers have covered 4 straight games as favorites and 3 straight games overall. Here's what really sold me. The Niners, they're not just beating these bad teams, Jay. They are 5-1 ATS against the losers this year. And there's no bigger batch than Tennessee, who, in my opinion, they shot the wad last week trying to, getting after Cleveland. I don't know how much is really left. They're going to end up going to San Francisco, I think, and just getting swallowed up by a 49ers team where, admittedly, the number opened at 13.5. It's now gone down to 12.5. I will take that. Thank you very much, because the 49ers are clearly the better team. It's really just, can they beat them by 20 or 30?
And in a way, I feel like they need to, right? The two best teams in the entire NFL are, you're looking up at them in your division. Mm-hmm. 2 best teams in the NFL, the Rams and the Seahawks. And you've been decimated by injuries, the 49ers have. And so, but Christian McCaffrey's still there, and maybe you can do something. And Brock Purdy certainly rounding into form a little bit. I love that side. And I think if the 49ers really want to make a run this year, they got to play really, really well every week, because the NFC is just ruthless and they aren't going to be hosting a playoff game. So I think ultimately they need to be elite every week. And I think they blow them out. I like that side.
I think for some of these teams, Jay, you also get to the point where you're not the titles, but you're the Golden State Warriors, meaning you might be the 7 seed, but if you're healthy at the right time, you can go on a run. And that's kind of how I see the 49ers. For them, get to the playoffs, be healthy, and then you pretty much can compete at least toe-to-toe with anybody.
Well, yeah, and to have those division opponents be those teams that we said this on prior shows. You want Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers showing up if you're Sean McVay? Most certainly not.
No. All
right, my gold medal selection.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Texans minus 9.5 versus the Cardinals. Your points about the Texans offense are well taken. Another thing that gave me pause, the Cardinals 5-1 against the spread on the road. I just don't think it matters here. This Texans team is fucking hot. And that offense for the Cardinals is just decimated. They lost at home 45-17 to the Rams last week. Marvin Harrison, questionable. Even if he plays, I just believe in this Houston defense to put a small number, maybe a single-digit number. I think they get after Brissett and eat him alive. I just think this may be the blowout on the board. So I think ultimately the Texans outscore the Cardinals by 10, even if it's a defensive touchdown or whatever it is. I just don't see Arizona making this competitive against a Texans team that's in a similar position. The 49ers, you got to win. You got to win every week. And you really got to rise up as a contender. So I like the Texans, my best bet a week.
There's a lot of converging betting points here. The Texans haven't closed at least an 8-point favorite since 2018. So even further back than Chicago in terms of the prosperity. Cardinals are 5-1 ATS on the road this year.
Yep, I said that a moment ago.
Yeah.
That gave me pause.
Texans have covered 3 straight. But here's the thing, unders, this is why I'm a little scared of the Texans and the big number. The unders are 10-3 in Texans games this year. They are 35-12 under D'Amico Ryans. So if you get a shutout, which they're capable of against Arizona because they are awful, and I'm assuming it's still Jacoby Brissett, little calamari.
No, he's done for the year, Gresh. But the point there, it's an Arizona fade, it's a Browns fade, and it's a Chiefs fade for me. So oftentimes the numbers become a little bit secondary to me. I don't see the Cardinals having a chance to win that football game. I just don't see that happening given the way the Texans defense is playing. So,
boy, I'll tell you, if Cody Barrow does the old 6-leg add some point teaser to these picks, I think these are pretty good. I think you and I are. I think this is going to be a bloody battle this week for some points because
Well, if
I feel
anyone's
like
been,
I
yeah.
feel like both of us are going to do very well. I like the way both of our cards line up.
Well, I think, anyone's been following the show. I mean, there's a lot more betting this league against the spread, right? Just like a handicap in golf. There's really, it evens the thing out. And I always say there's a lot of luck involved here, right? And I would like to go back and look at my 11 losses and my 2 fucking ties, because I'll tell you, I've been kicked in the dick left and right. Feel like I've been seeing it better than the scoreboard indicates.
I would agree. I think we've done great. I'm just looking through some of the Texans odds, right? So for the Texans in the AFC, entering week 12, they were 35-1 to win the AFC. Now they're plus 550. To your point, Jay, of them catching some steam here. And in terms of the Super Bowl, right? You said you're thinking of making some plays on Houston. Entering week 12 for the Super Bowl, Houston was 75-1. This week, they're 13-1.
Yep.
Holy hell. They went from 75-40 to 28-13.
Well, and unfortunately, that's why when I played them today, I just played the Rams to beat the Texans in the Super Bowl at 30-1 because the value had escaped. And what I will say is I came pretty close to betting. I placed a bet on the Bengals to win the AFC. I'm going to see what date I played this. I can't find the date, but I was going Bengals. It was a couple weeks ago when that number was probably close. It was Bengals or Texans, right? Because I really believe that Bengals had a chance to win that division. And gosh, they threw up against the Bills. They had a great chance to win that game. So I went Bengals instead of Texans. I'm regretting that there, but I went offense over defense a little bit. And Joe Burrow has certainly shown, despite those 2 picks late, that he really does change that team.
No, it really does. And think of this, the Colts were minus 3,000 to make the playoffs entering week 9. Now they might not get there, right? And
I wonder what the comeback was. Wow. On them to miss.
Chiefs to make the playoffs entering week 9, minus 750. And the Ravens the Ravens were as short as minus 1,400 to make the playoffs entering week 4. Some of the wild swings in the futures market has been really interesting this year. As you know, again, you're on the Texans, and like you said, it's just very much in the futures market. It's going to be riding the wave. And just for the quick reset, Stafford right now minus 180 for the MVP, May plus 200, Jordan Love plus 1,000. So I think it's down to 2 in the AFC. It's down to 2 for the MVP. And it's can Drake May do enough the next 4 weeks to flip voters who I think, Jay, have already made their mind up on Matthew Stafford?
I couldn't agree with you more. I just don't see it happening. And I honestly think it's I hope Matthew Stafford wins the MVP. I'm getting a little sick of all that. Drake May is just, your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. Every local media, every national, every local media, every national media, right? And everybody can't get the name Drake May out of their mouths. And good thing he is supremely humble and it's genuine. He's not faking that humility. But I don't mind that MVP noise quieting down a little bit, but I don't think it would affect him either way.
No, I agree with you. And I think the fact that you're still, there's something they can dangle the carrot in front of him for next year as well. I've said it and I really believe it. This is the year that Drake May has built a foundation for winning a future MVP because he's on the radar. And really that's half of it. I mean, think about this. It took Tom Brady, after 3 Super Bowls, it took Tom Brady 50 tuds in a season and a perfect year to finally win an MVP.
Well, exactly. And that's why we absolutely, as New Englanders, are conditioned to focus on winning. It's why when Devin McCourty gets a hot microphone, he don't want to talk about the MVPs. I don't care. We're focused on winning a Super Bowl. And that really is the focus. I'm sure Drake May genuinely cares 1,000,000 times more about the result of the playoff games than the fucking MVP trophy.
100%. And it's a nice, right. It's a nice award, right? Like Vrabel feels like the one guy who's definitely winning a postseason award, unless something screwy happens in the next couple of weeks, which you and I are not predicting. All right, our guy, Bode Marrow, Cody Marrow, give him a follow at Cody_Marrow on Twitter. You can find him on Instagram as well. I'm sure we'll have our big graphic up pretty soon enough with all of our picks. Everybody have a great week 15. Maybe next weekend, maybe next week's show, I can give some college football playoff first round picks.
Please.
I would love to do that. Because how NCAA tournament would it be if JMU finds a way? That's all I'm going to say. I know that you probably are on the other side of that, but we'll get into it. But anyway, we got you next week right here on Gas. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you watch us on Twitter. Send us some feedback. All you UConn assholes out there, you can lick my taint. I hate the UConn people, and they're all, chirping at me because, John Rothstein, they filled the Garden for a game, right? So it was, it's UConn country. And I'm like, F you, fill Fenway for a bowl game. Then you've done something. So all those people came after me. So you know what? Here's the underside right here. Right here, UConn fan. There you go. Anyway, that's it. I'm done being mean. We'll see you next week here on Gas.